Look, the NBA world is a hot mess at this very moment. Just from the trades that have transpired over the last few days. I'll say 2 weeks, honestly, because this is going all the way back to the Desmond Bain trade that happened in the middle of the finals, to the trades that happened today concerning the Celtics. And I look at these trades as a why, not on the Celtics or the Grizzlies or the Magic side, but what are some of these teams thinking trading for the guys they are getting, and who they're giving away? So we'll start off with probably the most irrelevant trade, considering there's been multiple All-Stars traded today and over the last 2 weeks. Pelicans traded for pick 23 and Mohave King to get the Pacers back there first, which happened post the Hallie injury, I want to say, which is just a good move by the Pacers on the worst case. Obviously, that's sadly now working out. Hopefully, Hallie recovers fast, but they were able to get that pick back, which was huge before the Achilles tear. But the pick was still top 4 protected, so it was going to probably have the chance to lay in their hands if they would have been able to get into the top 4 and Siakam and Nembhard and Mathurin didn't keep them afloat to be a borderline play-in team. It's still very possible next season if Miles Turner goes back and TJ McConnell plays at the level we expect. But let's talk about the big trade. The first huge one was Desmond Bain becoming a Orlando Magic player for KCP, Cole Anthony, and equivalently 5 first-round picks, which is a trade that is insane on paper. Because on paper, you just traded 5 first-round picks for Desmond Bain. Let me tell you why it's not as crazy as people want to say it is. Yes, I do think it's expensive for Desmond Bain. I don't think you need to give up KCP, still a very valuable role player, even after a down year like this. A lot of teams would take him for his defense alone. And I think if you just get him in better positions shooting-wise, he's going to hit shots. He's just not going to be a shot creator. And with Franz and Paulo and Suggs, you're not looking for a guy who's going to create his own shot as much. You're just looking for a guy who is going to be a good catch-and-shoot option. But what Desmond Bain gives you is a guy who is proven ever since he's walked into the league to be around a 40% three-point shooter on 6 or more attempts. I mean, he's had 3 of his 5 seasons he shot 40% from 3. The last 2 seasons of the seasons he hasn't, where he respectively shot almost 9 threes a game and 6 last year. Even then, they were 38 and 39% from 3. As a guy who's averaged 18 4 straight years. 18 plus 4 straight years. And will give you some boards and some assists. He'll get you a steal a game. He'll be a really good basketball player for this team. Maybe not a needle mover, as per se, but to be fair, it's only 2 weeks into the offseason, really. 1, but they decided they wanted to start it during the finals. But a off-season where this is going to be felt. Because we've already seen a lot of All-Stars traded. Desmond Bain, I don't think has ever been to an All-Star game. Yeah, no, he hasn't. But he is that caliber of player to a lot of people's eyes because he's a really damn good basketball player. But then I look at what the Magic are thinking. Paolo Banchero is a 32% three-point shooter. Franz shot under 30%. Suggs, 31% guy. Rendell Carter started a lot of games, 23% guy. Their best three-point shooter this year was Caleb Houston, who shot 40%, then Corey Joseph, Mo, Gary Harris, and then it was the Cole Anthony KCP duo. Which if you average out what they shot, it was about high 34% from 3 on 7 attempts a game. You ship those 2 in picks for a guy who's going to give you that on the same attempts every night as one player. They also, I don't think, were super in love with Cole Anthony. He had a sudden drop off this year in production, which I would expect, just going to say it now, Cole Anthony not to be on the Grizzlies come next season. Not saying they release him or anything. I think he moves again because I think they're very happy with what they have guard-wise. Unless Scottie Pippen Jr.'s contract is not is expiring, but I mean Scottie gave them a guy who shot about 40% from three, 10 points, 4 assists off the bench with a steal, which off the bench 20 minutes a game is outstanding. So I don't think they're looking to upgrade that bench point guard depth. Except if his contract is expiring, which I don't know if Basketball Reference tells me or not. Yeah, no, he's under contract for a few more seasons. So yeah, I don't see him going anywhere. I don't see him ending up as a Grizzly come year's end. But I really do like this move for both franchises. You look on the side of Grizzlies, you add KCP to this roster, which again, he's another guy who I'd watch for not being here, or if they just buy him out this offseason, because that is an expensive contract. He's making $18 million a year to be a role player, which a lot of people thought that contract was a little crazy. We just didn't realize how crazy it'd be. And it could just depend on what direction do the Grizzlies go. Because a lot of people think they're blowing it up this season. I don't think they do. I still think with the core of Jaren Jackson, if Edey develops, you have a good 1-2 punch with Ja and Jaren. With Edey developing, I think that's a fine squad. The next trade, the biggest one, is KD's and now a Rocket for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the number 10 pick and the number 59 pick with 2 seconds. One being a Celtics, one being a Future. Oh. No, it's weird. But it's Jalen, Dillon, pick 10, and a bunch of seconds, basically, for KD. Which is a fair blow because KD's older now. Here's what I will say, and this is one I could dwell on for a bit. I think this is a great haul for the Suns. Jalen Green last year was a greatly developing player. I mean, what? Jalen Green was a 20-point-per-game guy last season. 21-point-per-game guy. 3-pointer was at his best. It was by far his best season in his career. Not even close. He was the most efficient this season. Like, I'll even see if they have his by distance. His mid-range wasn't great. His deep twos was okay. Threes a lot better. And his round the basket shots got so much better. Then you get Dillon Brooks, who I think people understand Dillon Brooks' value. He's going to give you something on defense. He's a good 3-point shooter. He's what you want in a role player kind of guy. He'll give you anywhere from 10 to 18 a game. 1 year he was with 18, 16 a guy with Memphis. With Houston, he's been from 12 to 14. But he'll be that kind of guy for you. The issue I have now with the Suns is you don't have a point guard still. I felt like there was teams interested that wanted a point guard. That had a point guard you could get. Like, I easily think you could have talked Minnesota into giving you Conley. Perfect point guard, no. Or you just get a lot of cheaper contracts, which they might have just done, because Dillon Brooks' contract isn't horrid, I want to say. It's not great, it's not bad. Where's his contract? I can't find his contract. But, like, Jalen Green, though, I know you will have to pay. You will have to play Jalen Green. He's going to be in the 30 mils. Dillon Brooks is in the 20s. But that is not bad. Who I love this for, though, is the Rockets. The Rockets are a team that was close, I feel like. And we're just a superstar away. They were the 2 seed. And a damn good 2 seed. But they didn't have a closer, I felt like. Or a guy who... The best way to put it is, what made the Thunder get to the finals wasn't just how good they are. Shea, the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton. Denver has Jokic, Curry, Anthony Edwards. Go to the East. Giannis, if he would have had a run. Jason Tatum. Jalen Brunson. Every team that made a run has this guy who we can identify as, this is who's closing the game for you guys. The Rockets didn't have that. It was supposed to be Jalen Green. He wasn't doing it. I love Sengun to death, but he's not someone who you're going to give the ball to and expect a bucket from every single time. KD, while older, is still that motherfucker. I'm sorry. I think people forget how good Kevin Durant really is. People are like, he's just now going to be a name for jerseys. No, he ain't. KD, his age 36 season, was still a 26 a game kind of guy. Yeah, was he an All-Star? No. Was he an All-NBA player? No. KD is still a 26 and 6 guy who will give you 4 dimes. Around Sengun, around Amin Thompson, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, Fred VanVleet, Cam Whitmore. This team is what you would call deep right now. I mean, with this trade, your depth chart still looks like this. Fred VanVleet with either Reid Shepard or Aaron Holiday. You have Whitmore, Amen, Jashawn. Like, this team is just, you go position by position, deep still. So they still have that depth to compete with the star. Now the fun ones, I think. Trailblazers get Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons in a bunch of seconds. Well, 2. I don't like this trade at all for the Blazers, first off. But I understand it. People are confused. Here's what I'll say about Anthony Simons. It could just be that I'm not an Anthony Simons guy. People look at Anthony Simons' stats and be like, oh, wow, Anthony Simons is an up-and-coming all-star. You know, he's averaged 20 the last 3 years, give and take. He shoots high 30s from the 3. He's okay from the field. He makes his free throws. What does he give you on defense? Do you want the answer? It's nothing. He is not going to give you a lick on defense. But people also ignore, I want to say, his true efficiency isn't as great as people want to think. His deep 2s is where he scores, which people have now argued is the worst shot in the game, is the deep 2, because why not either commit to the 3 or get to the rim? But he shoots about 60% from those. So, to be fair, he's outstanding from those. It's the rim is outstanding, 63%. Short distance, cool. That mid-range, 10 to 16 feet, 37% guy. Third worst year of his career. His true three-pointer was 36%, one of the lower in his career. But he is not giving you anything on that defensive end. And that's where the Celtics almost hang their hat on, is the defensive side. That's where Drew Holiday was great, is Drew Holiday would take away your best guard. Or if you had 2 great guards, you had Drew on one and Derek White on the other. Now, everyone knew Drew Holiday was getting traded. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of teams I think you could have traded Drew Holiday to and gotten something better. Because I'm going to tell you now, I would be shocked if Drew Holiday ends up on the Blazers. Unless the Blazers really think they can compete for a playoff spot with Drew Holiday. But I think they're better off going and getting a more of a veteran guy and more picks. Or, like, I'm telling you now, I truly think Drew Holiday's a Timberwolf by the end of the offseason. Because that just feels like the fit of Ant, Drew, Jaden, Julius Randle. Gobert is a nasty defensive five with Naz Reid off the bench still. Dante DiVincenzo. You have a great 7-man rotation, and I think it'll just take you Conley in picks. And I think the Timberwolves will be fine with Mike Conley. And it might take you a first to even two. But you have such a great team that could honestly get you over the hump. Because we've seen Drew Holiday be the reason teams get over the hump. Look at Milwaukee or Boston finally getting over the hump. A huge part of that was Drew Holiday. Where people forget how just good Drew Holiday is. And Blazers keep him. That's a choice. I think they're better off moving on from Drew. I think either Robert Williams or Ayton also should be moved on from this offseason. And they just help. The confusing one. The Pelicans acquired Jordan Poole and Sadiq Bey. Which the Wizards got CJ McCollum and Kelly Olynyk. Which is a trade of all time. And it's 2 max contract guys, which is why it's like, it's worth paying, not max anymore, but very big contract guys. Sadiq Bey is still a very quality basketball player. He, I think, was injured last season. But he's going to give you quality basketball. At this point still, which I love that the Pelicans traded for him. I love the Pelicans getting him. And I understand moving on from Kelly Olynyk. Again, Kelly Olynyk's had an outstanding career in basketball. For the Pelicans in 20 games, he was a 20-6 guy. 39% from the three. He's a very quality, great career for a guy in the NBA. Very clear on that. Very solid career. And is far from over because he'll stay as a good role player. It's the CJ McCollum and Jordan Poole part that is just confusing. CJ McCollum's a great player. A fucking fantastic player. I mean, he spent his time in New Orleans. Just to give you an idea, I can't get the 26 game stretch. Three seasons and some change, because when he was in New Orleans that first year, he was also just outstanding. 24-5 guy. Well, yeah, 24-5 on 40-40 just shy of 80 splits, which is outstanding. I get that he's older, but that is outstanding. He's a too good. You have DeJounte Murray. You have Zion still. You don't have B.I. anymore, which is a choice, I think, still, but I understand the move. But you have such a great team, and you trade him for Jordan Poole. Which, CJ to the Wizards doesn't move a needle for them at all. I think it honestly just keeps them in the same place. All you get is a more consistent Jordan Poole. But a more consistent, more behaved Jordan Poole. Because at the end of the day, CJ McCollum's not going to win you more games. He's not a superstar. He's not going to be a guy like that. Now, well, I don't get it from the... It's because he's younger. It has to be the only reason the Pelicans make this move. Because I don't get making the move to get Jordan Poole. He's going to throw shit up. He's going to take his shots. He's going to do what Jordan Poole wants to do. He's not that great of a team player. And I think this Pelicans team needs a team that will play as a team and not as a team of individuals. DeJounte won't. Zion won't. Herb Jones won't. Trey Murphy won't. Jordan Poole does not want to play team basketball. And what makes it worse is his efficiency is not great. At the rim, 50% guy. Close to the rim, he jumps all the way up to 70. He gets to the rim. Oh no, that was his 2-point percentage zoomed up. At the rim, he's great. 70% guy at the rim. A little further out, drops down to 40%, which is fine. His deep 16 to 3-point range, 40%. That's still really good. 3-pointers, 38%. Outstanding. Best year of his career last year. If he gets elbow, which is a 15-footer, anywhere around that range, he is a 27% guy. And it could just be a one-year fluke, because every other year he's been really solid there. But he is not going to give you anything around that mid-range area. And he's going to be a guy you look towards creating his basket. He's more or less your basket getter, because DeJounte, as great as he is, isn't going to get you a bucket at will. Zion's not running through me people. Trey Murphy's great. Has a lot to go still. But you'd look at Jordan Poole to create that basket that CJ McCollum would make for you. Because let me pull up what CJ was last season. But he's not CJ McConnell. Last season, CJ McConnell was at the rim about 67%. A little less than Jordan Poole. Close to the rim, better. Jordan was 41%. CJ was 44%. From that 10 to 16 foot distance, Jordan Poole was a 27% guy. CJ McCollum was a 44% guy. And that's a lot of guys who get buckets like that, who we talk about, can just create their own bucket. That mid-range jumper is as versatile because there's no one who we think of who can get a bucket who's not doing that. Once again, Tyrese Halliburton. I'll pull up, Tyrese Halliburton would be the one guy I could think of who is not might not be outstanding in that range. Oh, what's that? 54% guy. Oh, wait, the guy who I thought might not have is outstanding. Jalen Brunson. Again, another guy. Outstanding bucket getter. 50% guy. You have to be able to get to that mid-range level. If me at that mid-range level, at an elite level, to be a bucket getter. Even, I'll pull him up. I'll pull up LeBron. LeBron, notorious for not being a guy who's outstanding at that range. See, what was he from that range? 50% guy. Last year, granted, was a oddball year, it looks like. Oh, wait, KD might have been an all-star. I just realized the awards this year haven't been updated on Basketball Reference. But you have to be able to get to that level and score at that level. See, Jordan Poole's just not. The final, and I think the most frustrating trade for me, though. Hawks get Kristaps in a second. Celtics get Niang in a second. Nets get Trey Mann and pick 22. Nets won this trade first off. Because holy shit, that's a good made haul for them. A first round pick for what they gave up. That's just them winning. But the one that annoys me is Kristaps and the Hawks fit. I know there's a lot of people who say, this is a great fit for them. I don't think so. Or this is the big Trae Young needs. No, it's not. I don't think people understand what Trae Young needs. Trae Young is not a guy who needs a big who can shoot. Right now as his second star. Because Kristaps, and I could be mistaken here, and I'm about to pull up the numbers. So actually let me pull up the numbers before I speak. Just to see where he actually was shooting the ball from. Okay, yeah, that's about what I expected. Trae Young needs a big who will create some space for him, which Kristaps will create that space for him. That is awesome for Trae Young. Because Trae Young needs to get to the paint. He needs the ability to get to the paint, and with Clint and Okongwu, he won't get to the paint. And when Trey gets to the paint, he's okay. He's a 54% guy. Trey's also just not getting the fast break buckets people get. Always a lot of floaters. Trey lives by that mid-range or 3-point area. Even then, last year scoring guys was down. Here's what Trae Young needs. And the guy who best fits what I'm about to say, granted, there's not a lot of these guys out there. He had one in John Collins, but a Aaron Gordon type guy. Because what John Collins did for Trae Young was simple. In his time in Atlanta, John Collins was a 15-8 guy who shot the 3-ball well. Except for his last year there. His last year there was his worst year, and he shot 29%. Since then, it's gone right back up. But a guy like John Collins, Aaron Gordon, who offensively, yes, they're going to step out and shoot threes and give you the space. But he needs a guy who he can just a little oop to. And I don't think that's Kristaps Porzingis at the level Kristaps needs to be. In his time with Atlanta, for John Collins, this is. He didn't take a lot of shots at the rim. A lot of his shots just came from 3. Actually, wait, yeah. Early in his career, later on, his last 2 years in Atlanta, not as much as he used to. Still 30% of his shots was there, then Matt's from 3. Kristaps, however, has never been a guy who's taken over 25% of his shots from around the rim one time in his career. And that was 2 seasons ago. Last season, 18% of his shots from at the rim, 17% within 10 feet of the rim, 43% from 3. How does that help Trae Young? How does that help Trae Young, just adding another guy who can shoot on the perimeter? What? Okay, yes, floor spacing is better. Cool. Trae Young's not a guy who typically wants to get to the rim. That's just how Trae Young plays. Yeah, but he gives more defense. Cool. What? Kristaps plays the 5 for them. Gets a little more help. Okay, cool. Okongwu's off the bench still. Your goal would be to start those two together. Okongwu doesn't do much because he's still going to be eating up around the rim. Because Okongwu is an okay shooter, not a great shooter. But they'll still want to play him around this rim. Onyeka Okongwu. Last year, 32% 3-point guy in 2 attempts. Not outstanding. You want to be closer to 30% of those guys like that. Wait, did I say 30%? I just cooked myself. Yeah. He's about where you'd expect. Sorry. But he's still going to eat up shots. He's still going to eat up your space around the rim because majority of his shots do come at the rim, like a center. There's a lot of different guys this team should have traded for. I think adding a true shooting guard around Trae is better. The DeJounte Murray experiment didn't work out for you. We know that. There's going to be shooting guards on this market that are with who can be his wingman. Like, see if I can find somebody real quick who probably will be available. Who will just give him somebody. Zach LaVine might be available. No defense to that backcourt, but it gives you another guy who can get a bucket. I mean, even a guy like DeMar would have been fine. But there's going to be guys who can give you 15 a game as his second option who does need the ball in his hands. Yes, you now add a second/third option between him and Jalen. But now your lineup's just huge because you're still going to start Jalen Johnson. You're going to start Kristaps. You're going to start Nreku. Trae Young and probably Bogdan at the 2, unless I'm forgetting someone who was on the Hawks who played a lot of minutes for them last year. Who was their other starter last year? Dyson Daniels, which is still a really, really big guy. You still have Zachary Rashard. Like, I don't even know if this is a move they needed to make. Unless the plan is literally to start him at the 5. And your lineup is Trey, Dyson, Rashard, Jalen, and Clint, with Onyeka Okongwu coming off the bench. Is Clint a free agent, or is he going to be moved this offseason? His contract situation. He's a free agent. But he's a guy who's going to be with Onyeka off the bench. But I just don't think this is the move that the Hawks needed to make. I think there's a lot of other moves this team could have made. I also think there's a world where this team just being patient and using the core that they have and going to get a different backup big works as well. I think there's a lot of options. I don't think Kristaps is the right move. Celtics had to unload contracts. So that's why it's hard to be hard on them. But getting rid of Kristaps doesn't matter. Next year's a year for them where I think it's that they'll be a play-in team and potentially make some noise, but no Tatum is tough. The East is wide open, and that could be the logic behind the Hawks is, look, Pacers lost their best player. Dame's out for the year. Tatum's out for the year. Cavs will be back. But of the top 6 teams, 3 of them had the Achilles tear to one of the best players on the team. 2 of them, the best player on the team. 1 lost Dame. But realistically, the 2, 4, 5 seeds are completely open. Orlando making that Bane move really looks really good now. I just think this is a team where it's like, okay, come on. Let's see what happens here. Anyways, if you clicked and watched this, thank you. And peace.